Okay, so let's start with public relations. I think people are going to talk more about a lot of these things, but image, again, requires all of these. So in public relations, you'll work with media. You have media relations. I think I was going to say, she's going to talk about your press releases and press kits and how those need to be organized and written. And there is a formula to it, so I'll take notes. And then you can do public service announcements, special interest stories, hold press conferences, on-air and print interviews. These are all things that kind of incorporate your public relations efforts. And then community relations, and that's working on big events and following up and getting in newsletters with those events and calendar announcements. That's also working a lot with maybe celebrity recruitment and fundraising. And then internet and community relations. She talked to you before about your computer efforts. I do a lot of work with Facebook as well, and then now there's Twitter, and there's all sorts of ways to kind of create your own community that you can send your core messages to.
What do you think about that?
Well, I'm embracing it because it's really interesting to be able to have your own vehicle. It's like your own little newspaper in a way. If you build up your constituents, you can reach them directly. It's not a bad deal, but it is sadly, and my niche is media relations. So sadly, I've noticed the newspapers and the TV and everything is changing. So it at least gives me a vehicle to, have a direct link into my audiences, and I can build my audiences. So I think there's some perks to it. I'm going for it. I'm kind of digging it, really. I'm liking it. Okay. So, and a lot of this is message outreach, and then you still have speakers bureaus. There's all sorts of ways to reach your target audience. And then a key for me is always education and awareness, especially with nonprofits. It's always good to be able to spread your message and keep it flowing and moving. And marketing. And this is where I think Anne was saying to you earlier about the importance of logo in your design. Once you go to all the trouble of writing your plan and creating your logo and having your taglines and your core messages and press releases, it is important that you keep it centralized and streamlined. So if you're sending a logo somewhere, it's best to provide professional artwork, because sometimes when you expand those files, they get blurry and it changes the image people have of you. You need to keep your all your logos, all your communications messaging very clean, exactly how you want it. Make sure you're providing professional artwork. Make sure that your mission statement stays within how it's written. And a lot of times people will have one communications department, but then they're spread out throughout the country, and the message can get changed. And really, there should be one spot that communications is coming out of, and it's controlled, and it's the way it needs to be every single time. Because the overall goal is to see an image, and then from that image, you automatically know what that company is, what that company does, what they're about. So keeping it exactly how it is alleviates some of the problems of sometimes it's big, sometimes it's little, sometimes it's got red or blue. It really does need to be consistent, and there's that word again. Promotional materials, same thing. Brochures, flyers, posters, letters.
It has to be branding.
That's what an image is. When you brand an image, then yes, it's consistent and it's exactly everything. So, but you can rebrand. You can change your image. You can like have a logo, and then for the 50th anniversary or something, you change your logo and launch a new logo, but then everything changes because you're rebranding. So you have to keep that in mind, that it can be changed, but while you're trying to brand it, don't be changing it up. It gets really confusing, and then you kind of lose your message. So that, as I was mentioning, on promotional materials too, keep it all streamlined. Swag items like T-shirts or giveaways, all of that should have the same logo on it, same thing every time. And internal marketing, that's important as well, because you're training your staff, you're training the people that are selling your product, what your brand image is, what is your concept of how you want your message to be delivered. So it's very important that they're completely on board. And then internet as well, internet designs, that should look, so it should be fresh and new, but visually it should be consistent. So your verbiage can be, you can talk about whatever your core message is, okay? And then, but visually it should maintain the same look. And then advertising, it's the same thing, PR, marketing, advertising. Your ad campaign should all be in line with your marketing and your public relations. It should all have the same message, core messages, and consistency in the visual look. And then image development. If you're working on developing an image, I just kind of put together a list of things to consider, and that is you need to organize a team. It's not really a one-person job. It's a team effort. And then identify and develop key messages. That's very important. Create a plan of action. Design communications tools, and then outreach, start generating your mass communications, and then consistency, and then again, reinvent. You're going to have to reinvent every once in a while because you got to keep it fresh. So these are just my professional recommendations. Yes, I don't know how my name got on there, but there I am again. Anyway, be creative, proofread your work. That can make or break you. Keep it real. You don't have to make it something that it's not. Just be realistic and be real, because people can usually spot it when you're not being real with them. Yeah, use color. I mean, don't be afraid of color. Color has a lot of meaning to it, and different colors mean different things. So be inventive, work smart, maintain an artist's eye. A lot of what you do is visual. Stay fresh, make history, deliver clear messaging, and practice good ethics. And then,
Can you go back to the previous slide, tools?
yes. But now,
Yeah.
this one.
Design communication tools, and
Thank you for that
do
one.
you have any recommendation, for example, statistics as well, for email and flyers, what percentage they attract for a non-profit organization?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Each tool for communication, tool like email
Right.
and even website, what impact it has from a statistical perspective, just to get an idea, if you spend more emphasis, emails for example, does it really get traction?
Well, I think with a well-balanced and well-thought-out planned communications effort, you need to be hitting every single tool that reaches into an audience, because internet is important for people that use the internet all the time. And there is really a slack in people picking up newspapers and reading it. So sometimes you're only reaching them through the internet. But sometimes you're only reaching them through the newspaper. And then there's a whole other group that's on the radio, and then there's TV. So you got to be able to hit them everywhere all the time, because the more your constituents are exposed to your message, the better off you are. That's when branding actually starts to happen. So if they see you on a billboard, and then they're like, okay. And then all of a sudden they're on the internet looking, and then they see you there. And then they go and hear you on the radio. It's all of that works together to